Nick McVicker here alongside Adriano. But man, what a week it has been. We have playoffs. We have, March Madness is done. MLB season underway. And the Masters start tomorrow. We got a lot to get into. Let's get to it.
Mic check. 1, 2, 3. We good to go? Let's do this.
Music down. It's time to talk some sports. Nick McVicker alongside Adriano Tesselin. And boy, it's been a very busy few weeks here, and now we are back. We apologize for being away, but, things happen, unfortunately, and we had technical difficulties last week to the point where we couldn't even put on a show. So, Nick McVicker, Adriano, back with you. Adriano, how you doing today, my man?
What a time to be alive in the world of sports.
That is the right answer. What a time to be alive. And it is a good time to be alive because, as I mentioned, MLB season underway. The Jays finally beat the Dodgers. Get a win in the win column. We love that. And then you have NBA and NHL seasons wrapping themselves up. We got the Masters this week. We got WNBA expansion talk because we now have those two teams picked. But, of course, we're going to start in college basketball, and I'm going to go in chronological order of how it happened this weekend, which means we are starting with the women's game. And I picked it. I won our pool. I had UCLA winning the whole thing. I had people wondering why. The final kind of showed you why.
Sharp, very sharp.
I mean, let's be honest, it came down to the four teams that everyone expected it to come down to in the Final Four. All number one seeds made it through. And honestly, rightfully so. Like, they were the four best teams this year, so there's nothing wrong with having them there. And after you watch the semifinals, and you see South Carolina put that performance on and just dominate UConn. They put on a phenomenal performance, and we'll get into the Gino Auriemma stuff at the end of this conversation. I want to start positive today. South Carolina looked so good in that semi. And I would say UCLA in their semi against Texas kind of didn't look that great. Now, granted, I don't think either team looked that great. They couldn't shoot the ball for their lives. I think the stats are pretty telling considering that UCLA shot 41% and Texas shot 31% from the field. I mean, what saved UCLA was their free throws going 11 for 12. But that was a game that I came out of, and I look at the final, and I'm like, I don't know if my pick's doing so well. What did you make of those semifinals? And then we'll get into the final after that, Adriano.
Well, I'm a huge Don Staley guy, so I love that the also my favorite college team name, the Gamecocks, had a great game in the semifinal. Few friends of mine are big UConn fans, so obviously they were devastated. But I had them winning the whole thing, so
Yes,
I was a little bummed out when UCLA kind of dominated them in the final. But I think it was the best team won out of everything. I like the Texas UCLA game. Yeah, it was sloppy, but games like that happen. It happened in the men's final too.
Yeah.
Lots of bricklaying going on, but both enjoyable games in the semis and then in the finals too.
Yeah, the final was dominant. And the stat that I always laugh at from the semi, which I'm going to keep going back to, was that UCLA had more turnovers in the first half with 12 than shots made. 8. Like,
And
not
they
even
still
like
won.
not even like 9-8, 12-8. Like, there was a distinct gap. But then you get to the final, and UCLA puts a beat down on South Carolina. They looked so good in this game. Lauren Betts, phenomenal. She took home MOP honors, but you can pretty much name anyone from that starting lineup, and I could have been like, yeah, no, I get that. 5 players with 10 or more points all 79 points from the 6 seniors on the team. That's incredible. And now they're going to have to rebuild. Obviously, 6 seniors are all leaving. But this team looked so good on the biggest stage in the biggest moment, and I don't think any team in the country could have stopped them playing the way that they did on Saturday. They were just so good. It was Sunday. I was right. It was Sunday.
It was Sunday.
To get my days all mixed up. But it was just dominant. 79-51, and at no point was this one close.
No, not at a single moment. Usually in these finals, you get a team that kind of crawls back maybe in the second half. But
Yep.
yeah, it was UCLA from tip to final horn.
Yeah, from the word go, they dominated. And give a shout out to Jaquez. She was phenomenal. Led the team in points. I was honestly a little shocked they didn't give her MOP because she was so good. Even throughout the tournament, it was her and Betts. You knew it was going to be one of them. They went with Betts on this one. But you could easily make the case that Gabriela Jaquez should have been the MOP. And I would have been like, yeah, I agree. But you make the case for Betts, and I'm like, yeah, no, I agree. What about you, Adriano?
Yeah, I mean, with those honors, it's kind of tough because sometimes you take into consideration the whole tournament, and other times, if it's been a close matchup like that, it'll just be the performance of one game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I doubt any of them care who got it because they got the team win. That's all that it's about.
Not a chance. And of course, Dawn Staley, being as gracious of a loser as she is, post game just kept praising Corey Close. Rightfully so. She's done a phenomenal job with this UCLA program. And you go back to that semifinal and all the chaos that happened with Gino Auriemma, Dawn Staley at the end of the game. I want to say that, I mean, I can say this straight up. Staley handled it about as well as you could in the moment. That was chaos at the end of the game to begin with what, 0.9 seconds left because of the turnover, and they had to inbound the ball, but no one knew what was going on. And I get why Gino might be a little upset because you had to wait a little bit, but man, like you're the coach. You got to know what's happening on the court, and the game's not over. Like Staley's just trying to get her players back into position and just deal with the last 0.9 seconds, and you're trying to shake hands. Like let's take it for what it is. It wasn't a snub. I don't know what was up with Gino, but that has a really, really bad look for him. And I have more after, but what did you make of that interaction with one of the – I mean, that's two of the greatest coaches in women's college basketball history. And that's what we get.
I mean, to keep a positive spin on it, I looked into what Dawn Staley had to say after the game. Like, she was obviously fired up in the moment. Like, why wouldn't you be when you get pressed like that for seemingly no reason?
For a handshake.
Yeah. Over nothing, really.
Yeah.
But even after the game, Dawn Staley is such a champion of women's basketball that she didn't like drag him through the mud. She actually like weirdly gave him his flowers. She was like, Gino's like, he's a legend, obviously, in women's college basketball with what he's done with UConn. But I just go back to the way that Dawn Staley handled it. She dealt with him all up in her grill in real time, and then was very gracious afterwards. Just a true professional, which I really loved.
Yeah, and we're gonna go a little on the negative, I think, because we're gonna talk about what Gino had to say. He talked about the Staley thing. He didn't really get too much into that, but the thing that bothered me the most is he kept going at the refs and talking about the jersey thing. And for those of you who did not see it, one of the UConn players, I can't remember her name right now, but she had her jersey ripped. And when I say she had her jersey ripped, I mean she ripped her own jersey in half. Like, it's not like one of the South Carolina players even, like, tore it a little bit to start it. No, there was no rip prior, but a ball went out of play off of the UConn player, and she was so frustrated that she ripped her jersey. And then Gino had a sideline presser with Holly Rowe where he made the comment that, oh, yeah, like this is just getting out of hand. The refs got to handle this. We're having players have jerseys ripped by the other team. And it's like, mate, what? And like and here's the thing. I get in the game in those moments. Okay, fine. Like maybe you haven't actually seen the video of how it started. Fine. All right. You know what? You see a player's jersey ripped. That's how you react. I get that. That's fine. But then he doubled down on it in his post-game presser and still went at it while complaining about the whole Staley back and forth too. It was like, mate, like read the room for one, and two, that is just like sad. Like it's not hard to see the video. It takes 2 seconds, and I'm sure somebody in that UConn group of coaches could have shown him that before he went to his post-game press conference so that maybe he could walk back the comments. They gave him the opportunity. The press literally wanted to hear what he had to say about it. And instead, he doubled down on something that was just blatantly not true. It's just a bad look for Gino. Maybe not necessarily a bad look for UConn basketball, but like bad look for Gino in that moment. And I'm going to take it to the broader scale of UConn basketball because earlier this year we had all the issues with Dan Hurley and the refs where he was pushing refs and he was getting up in refs' faces. It just looks bad on the program when both of your legendary coaches, by the way, I think they are both phenomenal coaches, are doing things like that. That could just be me, but that's the way I saw it, Adriano.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain, really. I mean, I guess when you're so used to winning, sometimes it's hard to lose, but
Yeah.
that doesn't excuse like just pure lies.
No.
Trying to peddle a narrative that everyone can clearly see wasn't true. Um, I don't know. I mean, UConn's lost plenty of times before, and it's never really blown up like this too. Like, hard to say what really made it different this time.
Yeah, like Danny Hurley has done that kind of stuff in the past. We've always known he's a bit of a hothead, but he's a damn good coach, right? So you kind of balance it off. I've never really seen that from Gino. I've seen him get mad at refs, and a lot of the time it was rightfully so. Or if it was a close game, he'd get mad at refs for like tight calls. But then he usually comes out and he is gracious and he like praises refs afterwards. He usually cleans it up immediately after. This is the first time I looked at Gino and I'm like, that's not a good look, mate. And it's tough because we're seeing such a growth of women's sports. And women's basketball is one of the leaders in that. The WNBA has grown exponentially over the last 5 or 10 years, right? Obviously, you can credit a ton of the stars like Caitlin Clark, but there's also just been a growth of talent coming through the university levels. And to have that be one of the memorable moments from Final Four weekend, it's just not a good look for the whole of women's basketball. Right?
I agree. It's a bit of a shame, but it's all about how you look at it, and we still got a couple of great games and games in a really great place. So
Yeah.
eventually we'll forget about this, probably in like a week, honestly. Like,
And
we
I
won't
hope so.
remember.
I hope so, because there is a lot of positives to talk about. And again, I go back to the UCLA win. 6 seniors combined for 79 points. Dominated.
First
Very
program
good.
win. First program win in its history as well.
Yeah, second
For
Big
women.
Ten championship in women's basketball. Right? Which is crazy to say that UCLA is in the Big Ten, and it still hurts my brain to make that make sense. But there is so many positives. That South Carolina team, tons of positives for them. They looked great throughout the tournament, right? UConn in and of themselves, UConn had a great tournament up until that semifinal where they got outplayed, right? And that happens. Texas, another program that's on the rise, right? Like, these are good programs. There were some good games in the tournament. And right now, there's 2 storylines. There's the UCLA win, and then there's Gino Auriemma and what he did. I wish that wasn't the case, that it was that 1 and 2. I wish it was UCLA is way up here, maybe something about South Carolina, maybe one more story, and then we're talking about Gino. You know what I mean? Like, I wish that was the case, but unfortunately, because it happened on the semifinal stage, and because of his name and what he's done for the sport, it's right up there with the championship. So, what are you going to do?
How much? Look at the bright side.
Look on the bright side of life. Speaking of which, let's go to my kind of bright side. Because go blue are the men's champions. My boys. No, I love Michigan. Everyone knows that. This is not a shock. I'm sorry, Haley. I know you Ohio State fans are probably hurting. But Michigan, men's basketball champions. I'm very happy. Elliot Cadeau, phenomenal game. 19 points, led the way for the Wolverines. And it was a little dicey there in the second half, I'm not going to lie. Because UConn did what UConn does, and they made a comeback. But could not overcome the deficit. Michigan wins by 6 in the end. What did you make of this game, Adriano, and anything else you want to talk about the tournament as well?
It was felt like, I don't know, like 80s basketball, like lots of poor shot taking. I mean, great defense to counter that though. Really solid defensive effort for both teams on both sides. It was just the shooting really sloppy. I like that, contrary to the women's game where it was pretty much over from the beginning. This one had a little bit of excitement at the end where they brought it to, I think they were within like 4 points about halfway through the second half. And very end of the game too with those missed free throws. That was a little spice as well, which I enjoyed, but it was cool to see Michigan win. I think I wrote this down somewhere. First program win since 1989 or 88, 89.
89.
You know who was on that squad in that 88, 89 team? There's only one name that I recognize.
Oh, God, I should.
His last name is Grain. I'll give you that.
Rice. Yeah.
Glenn Rice.
And he held up the sign that the boys brought to the final.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, incredible.
And also the first Big Ten men's title since 2000, and that was actually Michigan State.
Yeah, I know. The damn team in green.
Mo Pete was on that team. Raptors legend.
Yeah, Mo Pete, yeah. Yeah, no, and you're right. It's a great achievement for Michigan. It's a great achievement for the Big Ten. As you mentioned, no wins since 2000. Another thing that I think was really cool throughout Michigan's run was in the semifinal against Arizona, they had an alt broadcast that brought the Fab Five back together.
I didn't see that.
That's really cool. You know what I mean? Like, that is a legendary team. If you say the Fab Five, any basketball fan, and a lot of just sports fans in general, know who the Fab Five are. Right? You might not know all 5 names, but you know who they are. They were the Michigan team of all freshmen who just were phenomenal. And the fact that they were able to bring them back together after the disgrace of what happened, which is now commonplace because they pay players now, it was cool. And this team built a foundation for something that looks like it's going to last. The coach looks phenomenal. He put everybody in the right spots. He had a really good transfer portal last year, brought in Elliot Cadeau from UNC, and he was a phenomenal piece all year. Lendenborg, great player. I'm shocked. Well, I'm not shocked. I'm surprised with hearing what the injury was, that this kid was able to get out on the court in the final.
The MCL, right?
Yeah, like I know a lot of people, they'd be up on the shelf not moving for months, and this kid not only got back up in the semifinal and played 9 minutes in the second half and hit 3 straight 3-pointers just for fun, and then went out and played in the national championship game with an MCL strain. Like, no, that's crazy to me. But good on him. He did what he had to do. He did what he wanted to do. Now he's got to rehab that, and that'll be fun. A lot easier to rehab, though, as a champ. That's for sure. Uh, but yeah, it was an entertaining tournament for a lot of it. Maybe we didn't have the Cinderellas, and we talked about that last time we were on. There might not be Cinderellas anymore. But at the same time, that doesn't mean it's not good basketball, right? Like, yeah, the UConn Michigan final was entertaining. The semifinals, UConn Illinois was a good game. Like, I think
It's
a lot of
heartbroken.
people are underrating that game. Michigan Arizona was not as entertaining because Michigan just took it to them.
They just clapped them, yeah.
But Michigan clapped everybody except UConn. Like, they went in averaging over 90 points a game, which is crazy. In the final, in the March Madness, you average more than 90 points per game. That is wild. So, yeah, Arizona got clapped, but so did everybody else that played Michigan except UConn. Right? UConn taking down Duke in what will be one of the most remembered games in the tournament. Right? We're talking comeback for the ages. And yeah, UConn came up a little bit short. But they have a lot to be excited about. That team is looking good. As much as I'm not a huge fan of Dan Hurley's antics, he's a damn good coach. So they're not going to be far away. They'll be in it next year, and who knows? They'll be a 5 seed and go win it again just because. Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
outside of I think last year they had a short tournament. I think they were Sweet 16 last year, but
I mean, they
most year,
graduated all their champion seniors, so no shock
yeah,
there.
most years apart from that, they're at least the Elite Eight. So
Yeah, yeah,
unbelievable program, really,
unbelievable program.
on both sides too, women's and men's, obviously.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And you look at some of the players, right? So I talked about Lendenborg, I talked about Cadeau for um, Michigan. You could throw in McKenney in there as well. Johnson. These are good players, right? A couple of those guys are getting shots in the NBA. There's no doubt. On the other side, you got Caravan, who he was a beast. Very hard to slow down. You had Ball, who was phenomenal. And then you had Reed, who might be the most unlucky college player because he was on Michigan a few years ago when they made a bit of a run and then lost. And then he switched to UConn, and now UConn makes a run and loses to Michigan. So unlucky. But he was great. That's a big man that can play. He will have a shot at the NBA, as will Caravan, as will Ball, I would think. Right? I'm not saying they're locks to be NBA players. They're not locks to be stars, but those guys are good players. They're going to play. And I can't wait to see what this group of draft picks in the NBA ends up doing because the top 4 look really, really good. It'll be interesting, Adriano.
I think I'm most excited for Mr. Debansta, or however you say his name.
The
I
Bansa.
think he's got the best shot of becoming an elite NBA player out of this group.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not going to argue that. So, anything else you want to talk about March Madness before we move on, man?
Yeah, I think last show we were talking about kind of the transfer portal in the men's game and how it's basically changed the entire landscape of men's college basketball. But I really like that there is still some program loyalty on the women's side. Like you said, all the UCLA seniors, 4-year seniors, and I read an article last night about how they're gonna really pour in a lot of development into their younger players moving forward, and a lot less moving around, I think, and more opportunities to build up a program and kind of create a legacy, which I find is really cool. I also liked, I think we're going to get into this later, but I like that there's still some loyalty in men's college basketball, at least amongst coaches.
Oh yeah,
Like when UNC was trying to make their hires, they were trying to poach Dusty May and a few others, and they all held their ground. And were like, "No, I'm staying here. Like this is my team. This is
yeah,
my program."
as it should be. I'm sorry, that's how it should be,
Yeah, it should.
right? Speaking of that, I'm gonna quickly jump on that point. Mike Malone to UNC. Where'd that come from, man?
I love the hire. I love it.
But like that is That is a wild one to me, just because I would never have expected him to go to UNC, man. This is a champion NBA coach. Champion NBA coach. And he's now going to coach at UNC alongside Bill Belichick on the football side.
Just gonna say, I hope it doesn't turn out like Bill's reign there so far.
Well, I mean, it can't get much worse than this year for them, for basketball.
No.
That was not a pretty season. Another crazy point with that, he becomes the second highest paid men's basketball coach in the country, behind only Bill Self in Kansas. And the stupider point of that is that neither one would be in the top 15 if they were football coaches. They're both making over $8 million, but no, they can't even crack the top 15 of the college football coaches. That is stupid. But that's the state we're in, man. That is the state we are in when it comes to college sports. That the highest paid college basketball coach can't even crack the top 15 in the highest paid college football coaches.
Football is king in the U.S. at least.
Football is religion in the U.S., mate.
It is.
Religion. So, just kind of crazy to me. Let's go from the playoffs of one to the playoff push in the pros. Let's go to the NBA, mate. And it's on. Playoff push is on, brother. And, boy, are they making it interesting. We'll start in the East, I guess. We might as well start in the East. And there are still 4 spots. Actually, oh, my God, I can't even read properly. There are still 6 spots up for grabs in the East, including all 4 play-in spots. While in the West, there's only 4. But you can see right there, Detroit, Boston, New York, Cleveland. They're locked in. They got spots. Positioning might still change, but they're locked in. They cannot fall out of the playoffs, which is good because you want the top teams in your conference to be locked in at this point. The season ends on Sunday. And then you got a whole lot of mess below them. And, I mean, technically, yes. Like, we know that these are going to be the teams in the playoffs. But what order they're in is really what is up for grabs. And the Raptors are stuck in here. They're sitting in 6th. You got to avoid the play-in, right? Like, if we're having this conversation now, you need to avoid the play-in if you're the Raptors, right?
Absolutely. I mean, unless we get the 7 seed and we play the Heat, I don't think we're making it out of the play-in. I mean, there's a chance somehow. Both Florida teams, I don't know what's going on down in Florida, but the last, 2-3 weeks has just been abysmal for them. Miami, you watch them, it seems like they don't play defense at all anymore. Like they just forgot or just don't care. I really don't know what it is, but I think it would be a massive disappointment considering, the Raptors have had an up and down year this year, but if we were to slip into the play-in again, I think that would be a disappointment in itself rather than just being a first-round exit in the regular playoffs.
That would hurt. That would hurt, especially after this season has been positive. I would like to say, right? A lot of injuries. It's gonna affect how things go. I mean, losing your starting center, and for big portions of the year, losing Ingram at points. R.J. Barrett has been out. Quickly has been out. Really, the only guy who's been consistently healthy for the most part has been Barnes. It would be disappointing to fall into the play-in because of how weak the East is this year, right? And I'm not talking at the top. We look at the top. Detroit, phenomenal. Boston has been incredible, even without Tatum, and now he's back, right? Those 2 teams are really good. Then you have New York and Cleveland, who are good. I would say they should be higher than the Raptors, but not much. And yet, there's a chance that we fall into the play-in, which is just so disappointing because of all the positive that has kind of happened in the NBA, I would love for them to make the playoff without having to go through the play-in. Even if it means you got to play New York in the first round, even if it means you got to play Cleveland in the first round, who we haven't played well. We haven't played well against any of the top 4 teams. But if you go to the play-in and lose in the play-in, you don't get a chance to play any of the top 4 teams. I'd rather the chance, because you just don't know. Playoff basketball is always different, right? Like, we can all agree on that. Playoff anything is always different. So I think if they fall to the play-in, I would almost call that a disappointment of a season. Almost.
I'd say so too.
You can say, yeah, they made the play-in after the horrible, awful, no-good season they had last year. It's improvement, yeah, but I think they should have done better if they fall into the play-in. My 2 cents.
Should have drafted a center this
Wow.
past offseason.
Mm-hmm. Or
That's
signed one.
that's my take. Yeah, that could have been good too. Instead of
Brought in a center, I think is what you meant to say.
instead of just starting CMB at center and trying to move forward that way. I
And
don't
listen, I think CMB has done a admirable job in that role, but it's not his strength.
know,
Right?
not at all.
I think he's going to be a very good piece for this team for years. Him, Shed, I love those 2 additions. I really like Mamukelashvili. I thought he's had a fantastic year as a role player. And even he started games at center. Like, that's not where those 2 are good. Like, you need a true center to really give those 2 a chance to succeed at the highest. And they didn't have that for parts of the season. I like Pirtle, don't get me wrong. It's not that I have anything against Pirtle. But the guy's a Band-Aid right now.
I don't like his back.
Yeah, I don't like his back. That's fair. Right? But he's a Band-Aid. You're missing out on a decent chunk of games because he's just not there. And you're going to CMB and Mamu to start at center. Like, that's not what they are. And I'd rather them start at center than Barnes because they've done that in the past too. But like, it's just not ideal. But yeah, I think it would be a disappointment, and maybe it's what they need to realize. As much as we love Pirtle, you got to get somebody else alongside him so that if he is out, you have somebody. Maybe that's the final push to get them there to do that.
Yeah, and I think the 6'6" to 6'9" wing who can't shoot but is a really good defender era in the NBA has fizzled out. It's going back to the big boys at least a little bit more than it was in the last like 5 years or so.
Yeah,
So we gotta get away from that.
there's a good crop 6'6", 6'9" wings coming in, so we'll see.
And we're
if
probably
that's
gonna
true.
draft one. We're probably gonna draft one
probably.
and not a center.
No, that'd be too easy. Too easy. Let's flip over to the West quickly and throw the standings right back up. Boom. 4 spots still trying to be figured out are the play-in. So we kind of know the top 6 are kind of pretty much locked in. I mean, there's still some juggling going around, so there could be others. But for the most part, they're pretty much locked in. Actually, no. Minnesota can't even be caught. So it's the 4 there are going to fight for the 4 play-in spots in some capacity. And Golden State is pretty much locked in at 10. Unless they win out and Portland loses out, I don't see anything changing there. And then the Clippers and Suns are 2 games separated, so that's still well in reach. Big news for the Lakers losing Doncic. That will play a big factor in the playoffs, I would have to assume. Is the West really just the top 3? Like, we look at OKC, we look at San Antonio, we look at Denver. Does it come down to these 3 teams are just better than everybody else in the West, and it'll probably one of them 3 coming out?
Yeah, I can't really see a world where any of these other teams advance past the second round. I mean, In the playoffs, especially in the NBA, you don't really see a lot of those upsets, especially when the first three seeds are so strong. And two out of the three have done it numerous times. I mean, the Spurs, you can argue, oh, they have no experience, but they've won 60 games in the West. So, like, that's to me, that's an experience enough. And they have Wemby. So, that's also a pretty good argument.
That is a factor, as we saw with Dallas when Doncic led them. Sometimes all it takes is one incredible player to carry a team.
Excited, though. It's the best part of the year for the NBA. I mean, it's kind of stating the obvious, but it's regular season is a freaking grind. And when the
Yeah.
playoff gets here, it's makes things just that much more exciting again.
Yep. Accurate. 100% accurate. And I think I agree with you when it comes to the top three teams are kind of there. Had Doncic been healthy, I could have seen a scenario where the Lakers can win a couple rounds just because Doncic is one of the top three, maybe top five, depending on your opinion on players in the league. And LeBron is LeBron. And when you have two guys who are that good, could they just surprise somebody? 100%. But that team's defense is porous. And you're looking at it from that perspective. The playoffs comes down to which defense can shut out which offense better, usually. And it gets tighter. Everything gets tighter. The shooting goes down. Was there enough? Probably not, but I wouldn't have been shocked. You know what I mean? Now I'd be shocked if they win the first round. I guess not the first round because they're playing Houston.
Yeah, that could be an interesting match. It will be an interesting matchup if
Yeah.
they do. I mean, I don't think can Minnesota sneak in there? Maybe if they lose out. Houston's been playing really well. I mean, I kind of dogged them last episode, but they've been on a nice little win streak heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know who has the tiebreaker between Houston and Minnesota. I don't know. But either way, yes, it could be a very interesting matchup between Houston and LA. I mean, it would also be interesting if Minnesota gets there, but at the same time, Ant's coming back from injury sort of and dealing with all that. Like all three of those teams have question marks. So it's Denver, San Antonio, OKC. That's who I see coming out of the West. Which one? You can make a
I got
case for all
Denver.
three. Who?
Denver.
You taking
That's what I'm
Denver?
going with. Yeah. I'm
Write
taking
it
the
down.
Joker.
Write it down, folks. He's taking the Joker. Yeah, I don't know. Part of me thinks it's San Antonio. Just the way they've kind of gelled, especially like I know they started off the season well, but they've gotten better through as the years gone along, as they've grown as a group. Wemby looks phenomenal. Castle looks great, right? And
He's a dog.
he's a dog, man. He is so good. Then you add in guys like Fox and Vassell and Johnson and Harper. Like, they're deep, man.
Champagne.
Champagny, Cornette, even when he gets it, like, all of these guys can play. This isn't just a team that is built on one or two guys. This is a team that's built on those two guys with extreme depth. They have 7 players averaging double-digit points per game. And another one who is 9.9. Like, that doesn't happen very often. Averaging double-digit points. And only one of them is averaging more than 20. And that's Wemby. So, the depth of San Antonio is kind of like what we talked about last year with OKC. That team was deep. You could call on 8, 9, 10 guys, put them on the court and not be worried. That's the San Antonio team for me. And I think I love OKC. I'm a huge Shea fan. I would not be shocked if it's San Antonio representing the West. Like I actually think it's going to happen. So
You can make an argument for every team. The only issue I have with San Antonio, though, is that Wemby They haven't been playing him a lot of minutes, kind of compared to the rest of the superstars. Like he doesn't need to play that much, but when these playoff games go, it's close until the 48th minute. Like Wemby is right around 30 minutes a game, and the defensive toll that's going to be taken on him, I think might be a problem, at least maybe into the later rounds. Like I could see, they just played Denver last weekend, amazing game where it went into overtime, and Wemby just looked like he flamed out in OT because he doesn't play minutes that deep into games normally. And in the
Yeah,
playoffs, everything is under more scrutiny. You're going to have to play more minutes. First round, it probably won't be for them. But I think the second and conference final round, it might start to creep up on them. We'll see though.
yeah, that's fair. That's a fair shout, and I think that's something that they will have to manage. But he's also just a freak of nature. So who knows? We'll have to see how that plays out. But it'll be fun. It will be fun as
Hey, the
we get
Joker.
down to it. You got the Joker. Yes, you've mentioned that a couple times. Um, let's flip one more basketball story, then we'll flip sports. I promise. But we got to get into the WNBA because we have a roster in Toronto.
Let's call.
Well, kind of. We have part of a roster in Toronto. We have our expansion roster in Toronto, and also in Portland, as the Fire also have their roster. So I'm going to read these off quickly. We'll start with Portland. They picked up Sarah Ashley Barker, Chloe Bibby, Maya Caldwell, Bridget Carlton, Emily Engstler, Louisa Gesselsoder, Haley Jones, Carla Light, Nika Moole, Naedo Pooch, and Sug Sutton. I probably butchered those last two. I'm sorry.
There's some great names in the W.
There really is. All right. Let's see if I can do the tempo ones because they got a couple. All right. Julie Almond, Maria Conde, Lexi Held, Aja Kane, Maria Klundikova, Katica Laxa, Marina Mabry, Nicolina Milic, Aliyah Nye, Naraya Sabali, and Christy Wallace are your expansion draft rosters for these two teams. What did you make of the Tempo roster, Adriano? Because obviously we're going to focus on that because we're in Toronto. What did you make of their roster choices?
I'll be honest, I'm getting more into women's basketball as the years go by, so I really had to sit down and look into all of our picks. But what I got from it was that they wanted to go guard heavy. If there's one thing I know about most women's basketball is that the turnovers can get out of hand pretty quickly. So you need guards, especially who can take care of the ball. And that's my girl, Julie. She's got international experience, two-time Eurobasket champion, which I love, bringing that championship pedigree. She's only been in the W for 2 years, but having that kind of experience to bring to a new team, I think is awesome.
Yep.
And it's very international, which I think is really
Yes.
cool too. I think 8 out of the 11 or 7 out of the 11 are all outside of the US, which is very fitting for a city like Toronto. And also, only two of our expansion draft players at least have no playoff experience.
Yeah.
So, setting ourselves up pretty well. We also took the higher draft pick in the
Yep.
expansion draft, which I thought was a great move. And we're stocking up on building up the talent from within and starting younger and, looking probably 10, 15 years into the future instead of maybe just like 5 with some other expansion teams that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, for sure. I really like the Mabry pick. I think her, Almond, and Sabali are going to make a really good trio to start. Again, this is an expansion team. We're not expecting them to be like deep playoff run. I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. Like the WNBA is so competitive, and there's some superstars in the league that can carry teams. So I'm not going to say that I think that they're making the playoffs necessarily right out of the gate, but they're. It's interesting how both teams went about this expansion draft. It looks like Toronto went, we're going to try our best to pick a team that could win now. And keyword could win, because that's no guarantee. while Portland took a lot more long-term bets on players, like who was it that I was thinking of? Carla Light. She's one of those players that has the potential to be a really, really good NBA player or WNBA player, but it's just not there yet. It's going to take a couple years. So they went more long-term future look, whereas the tempo went more, let's see how good we can be now idea. And there's a chance that they could be very good. Again, I don't think they're going to be a deep playoff push kind of team. They might sneak into the playoffs in their first year, which I think would be an incredible win for the organization.
Absolutely.
But they built to try to win faster. They built with those 3 players plus a few others. You get a good draft pick, right? Like they built with the idea that 2 or 3 years we're going to be playoff contenders, right? Well, Portland built for 5, right? I think that's how it kind of went. It's just interesting to see how different teams utilize the expansion draft, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their different philosophies, right? I also love the Maverick pick. She's got an absolute burner. She can shoot the ball at a high clip, and I think her working with Julie is going to be a pretty lethal backcourt for us. They're both kind of combo guards in a sense. Julie's probably going to be doing more of the ball handling, but I think it's going to be an entertaining brand off the rip, which is all you can ask for really with the new team.
Yeah, I agree. And I can't wait to watch them play. I mean, I've been a huge proponent of bringing a WNBA team to Toronto. I have friends who are working there, and I cannot wait to get down to a game. I think that's fair. So we will move on. I'm just going to try to get this figured out. What do I want to say for this next one? Lots of spots still up for grabs in the NHL playoff push. Because guess what? Nobody seems to want to get into the playoffs in the East, at least. There's still 4 spots up for grabs, 2 of them in the Metro, because no one wants to play hockey in the playoffs in the Metro. So we look at this one, Adriano. Oh, let's do that instead. We look at this one, and there's so much up for grabs in this right now. And it boggles my mind because you'd think you'd want to get into the playoffs. Like, I would have to think teams are trying to get into the playoffs, but it just doesn't seem like that right now. We have Buffalo, Tampa, Montreal. They all have secured playoff spots in the Atlantic Division. There is a chance that Montreal, there's actually a chance that all 3 of them could fall to the play-in. Or not the play-in, the wild card spot. The first wild card spot. I don't think it's likely. I think they're pretty much locked in, all at 102 points right now. Pitt, Philly don't seem to want to lock their playoff spot in because Columbus is still right there. The Islanders just fired their coach with 4 games left in the year because that makes sense.
Why not?
There's there is chaos in the Eastern Conference playoff push because no one wants to get there. We're talking there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. 7, 8 teams technically if you count Pittsburgh and Philly. All vying for 4 spots because no one wants to play well down the stretch. Everyone keeps losing games. The only one that's been playing half decently well is Philly, and they've worked their way into a playoff spot because the Metro is so bad. So bad. After Carolina, I should say. Carolina is very good, but the rest of the Metro is awful. And we're watching these teams just try to fight for a playoff spot. I know Connor McDavid called the division fight out west a pillow fight, and we'll get into that after. The East is turning into a bit of pillow fight down the stretch. What do you make of this ugliness, Adriano, as we head to the end of the playoff push?
I don't think I've ever seen this many spots up for grabs with 3 or 2 games left in the season, which is crazy. Like
Yeah.
the Metro has nobody clinched right now.
They have
Which
Carolina.
sorry, the Pacific. Obviously there's teams that are going to make it over others, like the top, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but nobody has locked in a spot, which I don't know if I can't remember ever seeing that. Like
No.
3 games left in the season and no one has taken even just a clinched position.
Yeah,
Which
here
is
we'll throw
it's
the
crazy
West.
to me.
Let's throw the West standings up too, because you already mentioned the Pacific, and like to me this is crazy. Like Colorado has clinched, Dallas has clinched, Minnesota has clinched. I don't know why they don't have an X beside their name, but they've clinched. Then you got that Pacific Division and Utah, who's the first wild card right now, who plays in the Central, has no chance at the Central. But they have more points than the first place team in the Pacific. Like, that is stupid. And they're going to have to play the first place team. There's a chance that the number one wild card seed has more points than the team that they are playing who won the other division. That is stupid. Like,
Backwards.
nobody in the Pacific wants to make the playoffs. Nobody in the East who hasn't already clinched wants to make the playoffs. I don't know what's going on, man. This is ridiculous. We are talking about just chaos because everyone just keeps losing hockey games. Like, the best thing that has happened this week for a playoff push team is the Mammoth announced their Zamoth, the Zamboni that looks like a mammoth that can carry 8 people around during the intermissions. That's the best thing that's happened to a playoff team or team that hasn't clinched a playoff spot yet. I don't know what's happening. I
think
get
it's
it.
great. It's exciting. Even though it's unfortunately on the other end where teams are losing a bunch instead of everybody's winning a bunch, so it's hard to say. I think it keeps things very interesting going into the playoffs, which is really all you can ask for.
And like we look at some of these teams like Edmonton, Vegas, these guys are perennial contenders. Neither one can get a save right now. They're just they cannot figure it out. In their last 10 games, Oilers are 6-3-1, but they've lost their last 2. And the Golden Knights are 5-3-2. They're actually winning games right now since they fired their coach with 8 games left in the season. They've won 4 in a row. So with 4 games left, they're on a 4-game win streak, heading to play probably the Mammoth at this rate. It's wild to me just to watch this take place because it's ugly. It is ugly hockey up and down, both conferences. Nobody wants to win. I don't know what to make of any of these teams. Like, I was trying to figure out, I was playing around, and I built like a sheet to compare the last 10 years, right? With the Stanley Cup champions, how they did in the regular season, who should be like the pick this year. And I was working with one of the AI bots. Again, I'm not a huge fan of AI, but that's not a surprise to anybody. It spit out Colorado. And I'm like, well, yeah. They're the favorite because they're the top team, but that's probably not a good thing because 0, and this is not a joke, 0 times has the President's Trophy winner in the last 10 seasons prior to this year, 0 times have they made the Stanley Cup final. Not just lost in
Just
it or
making
anything.
the final.
Did not make the final. So that would say to me that Colorado's screwed because they ain't winning it if they're the President's Trophy winner. I don't know, man. It's just weird to watch hockey where nobody seems to want to, get there. I'm happy that Ottawa is holding down a playoff spot right now. Because if there was only 2 Canadian teams in the playoffs, that would be very disappointing. But the other 4 are awful this year. Vancouver, Calgary, Winnipeg, Toronto. Not pretty.
2029. I think I said last show for the Leafs, 2029.
You did. Yes, you did say 2029. They would. I don't even know what to say to that.
Gotta wait.
Gotta wait. Gotta hold on, and we will continue to hold on as the playoffs round to a close. I don't know what to make of it right now. And we can go to another thing that I don't really know what to make of it right now. The Blue Jays. Because, I mean, they picked up a win today. Big win. They don't look good, man. They don't look great right now. And they're hurt, obviously. They have so many injuries. 5 starters are out. But, mate, like, they can't get a hit. They're 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position. Dylan Cease and Gosman have looked pretty good, other than Cease's second game. They've both looked very good. I actually think Hoffman's looked pretty good. I know people are going to point to one of the games where he blew it, but I don't really put it on him on that one because there was some bad defense behind him. The defense hasn't looked good. When is panic time for this team, Adriano? They've won some good graces by going to the World Series last year. They bought themselves some time. But when do you start panicking if you're a Jays fan at this point?
It's a good question. I think based on how last season started, we got at least another 10, 20 games until maybe we start to hit the panic button. But yeah, we started under 500 for the first 25, 30 games last year.
Yeah.
Or at least close to 500, and we looked like not very good then either.
No.
And that's the thing about baseball, though, right? It's a very, 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 very long season. So,
how many varies did you put there? I don't think you put enough.
About as many as Jays wins this year, I think. But
fair.
I'm not worried at all, really. I'll worry when it starts to get warmer outside, I think, if it's still like this.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think people forget that because of how good the playoff run was, I think people forget that the Jays were bad at the beginning of last year. There was talks that signing Vladdy to that contract was the worst decision they've ever made. And then they go on the playoff run. They go to the World Series. They are 1 inch, probably more than that. I think it came out recently that was more like a foot away from winning the World Series.
I'll bring that up.
But it's more everyone just forgets how poor they were to start last year. And this team is notoriously slow starters. Vladdy notoriously is a slow starter. Springer notoriously is a slow starter. Right? The only ones who are pretty consistent at the beginning of the year are Jimenez and Clement, who hit 8 and 9 in your lineup most of the time. Right? And now you lose Kirky. He's going to be out for 6 weeks. You lose Ponce for the entire year. You lose Barger, who's now on the IL. Right? Those Kirk and Barger are 2 of your middle-of-the-order bats. They're probably hitting 4-5 most days. That's going to affect the lineup a lot. And Okamoto had a great first 4 or 5 games. He's cooled off drastically. Lots of strikeouts there. Little bit of a concern, but that's what a lot of people were concerned about coming into the year, so it happens. George has taken a step back, which I think was expected. Vladdy needs to get it going a little bit more. Okamoto, they need to get something out of him. Varsho, they need to get something out of him. Jesus Sanchez has been a bit of a pleasant surprise. He's looked decent in his little stint here. I think it comes down to if they can get the production they expect from Springer, Vladdy, Varsho, they'll be okay until Barger and Kirk get back. But if they don't get any runs from those guys, if they don't get any play from those guys, it's going to put them in a hole by those time by the time those two get back, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think a lot of people probably just had heightened expectations.
Yeah.
Like Vladdy's not going to be hitting 460 or whatever it was like he did in the playoffs. Like you got to settle
That's
down a
not
little bit, I
realistic.
think.
What are you talking about? Yeah, I mean, the scary thing is, though, like, if you look at it, they're one game out of a playoff spot, right? Like, we're 12 games into the year. And outside of the Yankees in their division, who also have missed a bunch of games for some reason, no one's running away with it. The Yankees are 8-2, and they've looked really good. Their pitching staff is phenomenal. Their starters are giving up less than a run per start right now. So, yeah, they look really good. The Orioles are 6-6. The Rays are 5-6. The Red Sox are 4-8. It's not like anyone else in the division's running away with it right now. And you have the Guardians are at 8-5, and the Rangers are 7-5. Everyone else is 6 wins or less. So, like, everyone's struggling to start the year. You don't have to necessarily worry just yet. I agree with you. If we get to the end of April, middle of May sort of range, and they're still struggling to get hits, and they're still struggling to pick up wins and string wins together, I wouldn't necessarily panic button, but red flags would have been raised at that point. I think that's where that comes down to. Is that fair?
Yeah, like the 30, 40 game mark, about maybe a
Yeah.
quarter way in, roughly.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And if we get to that point, we'll have Kyle on to sound the alarm bells, and we'll be fine. Anything else you want to talk about, man? It was a busy couple weeks.
I just want to give another shout out to the W. Getting that CBA done.
Yes.
The biggest note that I took away from that was the minimum salaries being above 300,000. Kind of just
Impressive.
proved that these greedy owners were trying to peddle all these lies about how the league wasn't profitable, but the players had all the leverage. And although I don't think they got as much, was it like revenue sharing percentage or something
Yeah.
like that, they were still vouched for a higher number than what was initially proposed, and they got it. And now having this sort of minimum benchmark, like 300K is way more than enough to earn a living playing basketball, which I think was one of the biggest issues
Yep.
they were fighting for, and I think it's just awesome.
I agree. You no longer have to go play in 3 leagues just to make enough money so you don't have to have another job.
Yeah, or a part-time job, like ridiculous stuff.
Right? That's massive. That is huge. And they worked for it. They've earned it. There's no doubt about it. So, huge shout out. That's a great shout, my man. Appreciate that. I got nothing else for you except we got some big news. This is our last Wednesday show, folks. We are moving to Thursday. Listen, schedules are crazy. I'm coaching. They moved our schedule around. I can't help it, okay? We're moving to Thursday, though. Thursday night, 7 p.m. We will be back. Hopefully, no more technical issues. None today, so knock on wood. We're making progress. Adriano, phenomenal show, my man. That was awesome. Make sure you tune in every Thursday. Make sure you check us out on social media, X, Instagram, TikTok. We got content coming out all the time. We love to hear from you. Let us know what you think. We'll bring you in. We'll take your comments on our comment page. I got it right here. I look at it all the time. What do you think I'm looking sideways for most of the time? It's not just to look at Adriano. But we love hearing from you. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know what you think on the topics that we're talking about. Make sure you follow us on socials. Until next week, my name is Nick McVicker. He's Adriano Tesselin. We appreciate you spending time with us, and we will see you next time.